Sorry, these are the number signs, which I never remember, so I don't think they're very important, but I guess maybe they should be. And these are some of the added letters in in Amharic specifically, but there are also some modified letters also in the other languages. So these were added to convey the sounds sh, ch, ny, ch, ch after, of course, that h and ch have already merged with hey. So this ch is a result of sporantization of k and not etymological ch. That's why Lambda here uses k with a line underneath. J, j, and ch. Except ch, these are all palatalized variants. So sh is the palatalized variant of s. Nya is the palatalized variant of n. Ch is the palatalized variant of t. Where's t? Here. J is the palatalized variant of z. J is the palatalized variant of d. And ch is the palatalized variant of both ts and t. So as you can imagine, there is a lot of palatalization in modern Ethio-Semitic languages. But before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit more about ge'ez. So these are the sounds we have. I have, of course, failed to mention that there's also p, which is weird and different from other Semitic languages. No one really knows where it came from. It usually appears only in Greek loanwords, but there are some inherited words that have it as well. Other than that, everything is quite regular. These are the consonants. This P is very, very rare and exists almost entirely in loanwords and more modern words than Greek, so Latin ones, I guess. Ba, pa, ma, fa, ta, da, ta, na, sa, za, ta. These are the lateral ones that have merged with the medial ones. So sa, that became S, and cha, that became tsa. G, k, k, cha, that later became ha. Ain, aleph, and hey. Any question? Oh, and in the bottom we have the L and R and N. No, just L and R. Any question? No? Okay. Um, just a second, sorry. Okay, so some remarks about Ge'ez phonology from Hasselbach and Klopper's book. You can see that Ain is usually pronounced as Aleph, except for the languages that still distinguish them, which are quite rare. Aleph and Ain are usually not pronounced at the end of a word. And Hey, Het, and Het are generally pronounced as Hey, just like I said. And the lateral pronunciation was lost, just like I said. These are the pronouns in Ge'ez. So, Ana, very regular. Nihna, we see that that Ge'ez has Nihna as opposed to something like Ninu in Akkadian or Anahnu in Hebrew. So I think we already had this discussion. This definitely comes from another part of the pronoun. So maybe either possessive pronoun or accusative pronoun or something like that. But some of these, at least one of these pronouns had na, and this has spread in Ge'ez and also in some other languages to the independent pronoun. Anta and anti, that's just exactly what we would expect. Antamu and antin, pretty much similar to what we would expect. I think I already mentioned that Languages usually don't, or these languages usually don't need more than one or two ways to distinguish the different genders in the pronouns. So if Akkadian has antum, atumu, atina, uh, Ge'ez did not have to preserve both the change in the consonant and like both the different consonant and the different final vowel. So just eliminating one of those final vowels just is a little bit more economical. So it's not antenna, just antin. Um, and the third person pronouns, those are the weirdest ones. So wa'atu, ya'ati, amuntu, amantu. But there's also wa'atomu, wa'aton, which are definitely derived from the singular ones. Any thoughts about these weird third person pronouns in Ge'ez or where they could have come from? I'll leave you to think about that for a minute and go to the bathroom in the meantime. Yes, any ideas? Please.
Um, for the singular ones, I don't know where the ending comes from, but the first part looks kind of just like Huwa and Hia lost their initial syllable.
I agree. And where, so the ending, you mean the tough, not just the
Yeah.
vowel. Yeah. So, and this tough is usually thought to have come, you're absolutely right. And this tough usually is thought to have come from the oblique pronouns. So something like shuatu, shuati. So, yes, exactly. So it should have been something like huwa'atu and hiya'ati or something like that. And the beginning with the H has dropped. I think that some of these forms are even attested in epigraphic Ge'ez. Regarding the plurals, so wa'atomu is just wa'atu with the suffixed pronoun omu of them or something like that. So we can understand that. Same thing about wa'aton. Amuntu is weird, and so is Amantu. So this is very, very different from what we know from other languages. There is no there is no difference between the two nasals, but it has M in both. I think Ge'ez is the only one, the only language to have M in both the masculine and the feminine plural pronouns. It must have come from something like humu or something like that, and with some kind of suffix that comes from the oblique. But the fact that this is humu and this is huma is a little bit strange. it is possible, but a little bit strange, I guess. So something like shunu and just with the entu suffix and shina entu or something like that. Any question? Okay. These are the suffix pronouns, just so you know that there's this omu and on that I have not made them up. Everything else is pretty much exactly what we would expect. So nothing very special. The nice thing about Ge'ez is that it has a diptotic case system. So nouns are marked either for nominative or genitive or for accusative, or maybe better to say, nouns are only marked for accusative or for non-accusative. So you can see the difference between something like kalbaka, uh, your dog accusative, and kalbka, or something like that, your dog nominative or genitive. There's no difference in the first person, which is something we know from other languages as well, so it's not that surprising. Other than that, everything is quite regular. Any question regarding this? Okay. This is the Deixis paradigm, and this is also not very, very special. So we already talked about some of these forms already, I think. So Z is just the pan-West Semitic relative or demonstrative, like both relative and demonstrative pronoun or particle, just the or something like that. It is nice that it inflects for accusative. So Z for nominative or genitive and za for accusative. Feminine singular za for both, and the plural elu, ella, which, as I have already said in some other lesson, are definitely connected to, like, this is the pretty much the whole West Semitic paradigm, and these are quite undoubtedly connected to the Akkadian Fardeixis pronoun or particle ulu or something like that. So the forms of the singular are used propolitically. That's not very interesting. This is the second near deixis paradigm. So it's the longer pronouns or particles in tu, zati, elontu, elantu, obviously just with a suffix. So it's not that exciting. And this is the remote deixis paradigm. This is nice because this is shared with some of the languages, but not all of them. A lot of the Central Semitic languages, like aside from, okay, I guess, yeah, Arabic has them, Aramaic has them, Ugaritic has them. So maybe I can say most languages have them. So this remote deixis with a kaf, zikku, something like Arabic dhaka or dhalika, and tikku, something like Arabic tilka or whatever, and alikku. So not very special either. Any questions? Okay, so this is the nominal inflection. Usually very easy. Nagus, nagast, nagusa, nagasta. So we can see this broken plural. Both the pattern is changed and there's a suffix. We've already talked about these things. And the feminine, nagist, nagista, nagistat, nagistata. The fact that we can see two feminine markers in the feminine plural is interesting and quite different from most Semitic languages. And the fact that the feminine plural can receive an accusative suffix is also interesting and different from other Semitic languages, namely Akkadian and Arabic. But that's the way it is. An interesting thing is that some of the adjectives do not inflect with this feminine suffix T, which we know from all over Semitic and, of course, even Afro-Asiatic. but they have an ablaut. So qatil, qatal, like tabib, tabab, a wise man, a wise woman. That is very, very weird and very, very different from other Semitic languages. I do not really have an explanation for this. It is a very interesting case of ablaut or vocalic rewriting for feminine marking. Any question? This word nagus means king. Okay. Just a little bit more about historical phonology. So Semitic Ghain is usually Ain in Ethio-Semitic or in Ge'ez, but rarely also Chet. And we have some examples here. So Abara to be dry in Arabic, Khubar, dust, Alawa to break the law, Ghalawa, and so on, as opposed to Rakhaba to be hungry in Arabic, Raghaba, Tabakha to dip or to die, and Arabic sabagha, and dimagh, brain, damagh, or damagh, skull. Any question? Okay, I'm gonna leave this issue to Jonathan for his lecture.
Which is that is there any other Semitic language that has the same ghain khe?
Yes, this happens in Akkadian once every while, but Jonathan will talk about this, I'm sure, and it will be very interesting in just a few weeks, or I don't remember exactly when, but soon. 2 weeks, nice. I'll be waiting. This is the past or perfect or suffix conjugation inflection in Ge'ez, Nagara, Nagarat, Nagarka, Nagarki, Nagarku, everything very, very regular. In the plural, Nagaru, Nagara, Nagarkamu, Nagarkin, Nagarna. So which language do you think this is? If we look only at the Nagara type, the left column of the two, which language do you think this is most similar to? Or I don't know. I don't know if there's a right answer for that question, but just would love to hear what you think. If you want, you don't have to, it's okay. The second one is the Gabra. This is the other type. So historically, this is probably from the Fa'ala type, and as opposed to the Fa'ila or Fa'ula type, which has lost its second vowel. So Gabra, Gabrat, but you can see that this second vowel has returned or changed to A in some of the other persons. So Gabarka, not Gabrka or Gaburka or something like that. Gabarki, Gabarku, and so on. So in some of the persons, the forms are exactly the same, while in others, they're different. But that, I guess, is not very special. I was going for Akkadian. That was the answer I was thinking about because this UA thing, but I guess other languages have similar things. And this is the imperfect paradigm. So the long prefix conjugation, the Akkadian iparras, this is in both types in Ge'ez exactly the same. So Yenagir from Nagarka and Yagabbir from Gabarku or whatever, or Gabra. So he will speak Yenagir, she will speak Tanagir, exactly the same as you, masculine, will speak Tanagir, as in other languages. You, feminine, Tanagiri, sorry, Tanagiri. And I will speak Anagir, and in the plural, Yanagiru, Yanagira, Tanagiru, Tanagira, Nanagir. So here you can see more the similarity to Akkadian because of this UA. because other languages don't necessarily have this exact distinction or this exact difference between the masculine and feminine plurals, which we will notice soon, probably. But other than that, everything is completely regular. I think I've already mentioned that one of the only problems with this paradigm, or like from a comparative perspective, is that this schwa vowel should have, in theory, been an a if we look at Akkadian. So iprus iparras. So why is this not yenagar with an a here? But there's no real answer for that, and there are several instances in which Ge'ez changes a to u. It could also be just spreading from the other paradigms, or I don't know, but that's just the way it is. And the jussive or short prefix conjugation, yinger, tinger, tinger, tingeri, inger, yengero, yengera, tingeru, tingera, ninger. So pretty much exactly what we would expect. And in the second type, with an a instead of the which is also what we would expect. So just like in Arabic, fa'ala yaf'ulu or yaf'ilu, as opposed to fa'ila yaf'alu, with the second vowel being a in the short prefix conjugation in the so-called adjectival verbs. Any questions? Okay. This is the imperative paradigm, which is also pretty much what we would expect. It seems to be completely akin to the jussive. So from yenger, neger, negeri, negeru, negera, and from yigbar, gebar, gebari, gebaru, gebara. A thing that exists in Ethio-Semitic and does not exist in other Semitic languages is the form called by Popper and Hasselbach the perfective participle, but no one really uses that term, so that's very confusing. Usually it's called either a gerund or a converb. This form is historically some kind of verbal noun or adjective that inflects with historically possessive pronouns, but has become a verbal form. So katilo, katila, katilaka, katilaki. This means, well, as they say, in most cases, it denotes an action that has been completed prior to that of the main verb. So only for secondary verbs, but that's not exactly true because you can use this form even as a main verb. And there I have a hard time understanding exactly how to translate it or how to understand it. But katilo means something like having killed. He having killed did this, this, this. Or after he killed, he did this. But this can also be the main verb, which just means he killed, but in a slightly different way from katala. And I don't know exactly how to explain that. Any question regarding the converb or gerund in Ethio-Semitic? We will soon see it in other languages as well in Ethio-Semitic, but it does not exist in non-Ethio-Semitic languages, as far as I know. As you can see, you can do it with each and every stem. Okay. These are the infinitives, which are almost identical or sometimes almost identical to that verbal noun or adjective that we've seen before. It's a little bit different from what I would expect from an infinitive to be considering other languages, but it does seem that there is no one Semitic infinitive really. We can see that the different languages diverge in this aspect. I haven't really mentioned, but I have before, but not today, the different stems. So there are the G stem, and just like in Akkadian, there's a C stem based on it, a T stem based on it, and a CT stem based on it. So a causative, a reflexive, and a causative reflexive. And then exactly the same for the D stems and for the L stems. So each of the basic stems has its own causative, reflexive, and causative reflexive. Any question?
So what I'm a little confused by what you mean by causative stem. So katelot is like he killed, and aktalot is like he made someone kill.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this verb actually exists, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And takatelot, like the GT would then be something like he was killed or
Yeah,
killed for himself.
Actually, reflexive and passive. Yeah, both.
Okay.
Reflexive and passive, and even reciprocal as well. Yeah.
And then what meaning does the CGT stem cover?
What does shinti do in Akkadian?
Okay.
It can
Okay,
be either
so
the causative of the reflexive or the reflexive of the causative.
okay. And okay, I'm just confused why it's like associated specifically with the GT stem, and also why there's like a CD, like a causative of the D stem and a causative of the DT stem.
Yes. So the causative of the D stem is like shin D in Akkadian, which is a very
Which
rare
which
stem.
doesn't really have a like, I think that's just a D stem or a shin stem by meaning, right? I think it's just like a fancy form.
Yep, yep. That's a good question because, well, it's kind of a chicken egg situation because in modern Ethio-Semitic languages, these three boxes, like the G stems, the D stems, and the L stems, are completely lexical. So it's not like you can derive an L stem from a G or a D stem from a G. In Ge'ez, I I don't know. I think you can in at least some of the cases, but it is more lexical than in in other languages. So in Arabic, you can definitely derive a D stem from a G stem, a fa'ala from a fa'ala, or in Akkadian. But in here, it's a little bit more lexical, and therefore it is easier to derive other stems from it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Any other question? It's nice to see that in Ethio-Semitic in general, you can only see the T prefixed to the root. It is the only Semitic language that I know of that only prefixes the T stems to the root and never infixes them. If you remember, Akkadian always infixes them. Also, so does modern South Arabian. And some of the other languages like Arabic and Hebrew and Aramaic have some kind of variation, sometimes prefix, sometimes infix, can depend on different factors. Okay. And this is the participle. One of the interesting and surprising features of the Ethio-Semitic language group is that they have not retained the participle that we know from all other or almost all other Semitic languages. They retained it as an adjectival pattern used also for ordinal numerals, but the regular participle or agent pattern in these languages is katali in the G stem, and it is very, very characteristic of these languages. So very, very prolific and productive to this day. And you can see that almost all of the all the other stems also have this E suffix, probably coming from some kind of nisba or something. And this long A, which perhaps comes from an infinitive form or something like that. Okay. These are the other agent nouns, which are a little bit more akin to the participles of the derived stems in other languages. So maktel as opposed to aktali, but these are much rarer and are much more nominal. So less productive participles and just nominal patterns, which are somehow connected to the verb. Okay. These are the stems that I have already explained about. You can see that, well, the L stem is no problem because they just add an a, and they can do that in all of the forms. But the D stem has a problem because if I distinguish in the G stem the past from the future or the perfect from the imperfect through gemination of the second radical, I cannot do that in the D stem because the second radical is always geminate. So it's just a different vowel. So naggara, yinegger, and yinagger. So yinagger is the jussive, the short prefix conjugation, and yinegger is the long prefix conjugation, although they are of the same length. Any other question? This T or ot suffix is nice. We don't know it from a lot of Semitic languages, but we know it as kind of a relic in Hebrew, sometimes in Arabic, and even from non-Semitic languages like Egyptian, that infinitives of usually weak verbs are more common to be in the feminine or have a feminine suffix. So in Arabic, we have this form, for example, in words such as taf'ila for the weak verbs like taswiya or something like that, or sifa, ila, with the feminine suffix. In Hebrew, we have it in weak verbs such as redet, lechet, to walk, to go down, vice versa, and also in the final weak ones like lirot, to see. Any question about that? Okay. And these are the causative stems, exactly the same as we've just seen, except with an prefix. So nothing very interesting about that. And the T stem, exactly the same as what we've seen, but with a T or ta prefix. Okay. And these are the causative reflexive stems. So they all start with an asta, which of course is a retention of the original sibilant from the causative morpheme. And we know such forms also from Arabic and other languages. Any question? Okay, another interesting issue about Ethio-Semitic languages, which is less prominent in Ge'ez, but we will talk about it slightly more in the other languages, is the negation. Ethio-Semitic languages do not have a negation, a word for negation. They don't have a word for no at all, which is interesting. They don't have the Pan-Semitic word for no, la. Instead, they prefix the E, which we know, for example, from Hebrew or the Akkadian vetitive, to the verb, and that is the way they negate it. So, iyan, have you not read it? You plural, or you have not read it. Sorry, Omar?
This E like E ifshar in Hebrew.
Yeah, ifshar, yeah, exactly. But it's quite rare in Hebrew, of course. But we do have E as a negation word. There's also akko, which is rarer and a little bit less interesting. Okay, so they use particles other than words. And this is a sample text. Does anyone want to try and read and maybe try to understand? because it shouldn't be too difficult. Of course, I'm sure that you know the text, so that might be.
It's like a prayer. أبونا ذا شمعات.
Yeah, exactly.
أبونا الذي في السماوات. But I can't actually. This is the double S. أنت موسى.
Sorry?
كما زكي صلايو أنت موسى. أبونا ذا شمعات يتقدس.
Yeah.
Semeka.
Yes, exactly. So kamazaka, like that. Tsallayu, they have prayer, they have prayed. So Salah in Arabic or Sullu, Tsullu in Akkadian. Anta Musa. So this sa suffix is like a focus suffix. So you have prayed, you plural. Abuna, our father. Zaba Samayat, that is in the heavens, in the skies. Yitqaddas, will be honored, will be sanctified. Sumaka, your name. Timtsa, will arrive in the Jussive. Yitqaddas also in the Jussive of the DT. Timtsa mangistika, so may your kingdom arrive, and so on. We don't have to do the whole thing. I hope I have convinced you that Ge'ez is not that difficult.
Some words is very similar to Aramaic pronunciation.
Yes, there's a lot of there's a lot of Yes, the susha is a little bit different, but it is similar to Aramaic, to Arabic as well. But there are some weird features. This is just a little bit taste from some of the other Ethio-Semitic languages with their morphemes. So we saw the near demonstratives z and za, and the plural ones illu, illa. So some of the languages have retained pretty much this, like Tigre. You can see that Tigrinya has a different system, but quite close. And the other ones just completely diverged from this. And this is what we see in general in Ethio-Semitic in a lot of cases. So for example, in Harari, the language of the walled city of Harar, the demonstratives are yi, yitta, and hyach. Yep. We will have a forced break in about a minute and a half. And these are the far demonstratives, also very, very different among the different languages. Argobba and Amharic. No, Argobba has this kh, which comes from the k, but all the other languages don't have a k at all anymore in these demonstratives. And yeah, the relative pronouns, but we can go past this. And the interrogative, you can see that this is pretty much the same in the different languages. So for the animate one, the who word is manu in Ge'ez, and it's man, min, man, ma, manu, man, and so on. Just for a little bit of taste from Tigre before we have a forced break. So these are the pronouns in Tigre. Tigre is a language spoken in Eritrea by approximately, 2, 3 million, 1 million people, something like that. Ana, inta, enti, and the plurals nana, entum, enten, which is nice, but the real striking feature here is that the third person